The Washington County Quorum Court is called to order. Justice Lloyd, you'll lead us in prayer and pledge.
I will. Lord God, we lift you up tonight and acknowledge that you are the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. We thank you for the awesome responsibility that you have blessed us with, where our decisions affect the lives of so many people. We ask you for your wisdom and your grace when making these decisions. Please bless us to do the right thing for the right reasons. Lord Jesus, we glorify you and praise your name and do pray in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, good evening. Ms. Jamie, will you go ahead and do roll call?
Daniel Balls. Here. Harvey Bowman. Here. Rick Cochran. Robert Dennis.
Here.
Lisa Ecke. Here. Ann Harbison. Here. Joe Kicklack. Here. Roddy Lloyd. Here. Tom Lundstrom. Here. Eva Madison. Here. Sue Madison. Joel Maxwell. Here. Joe Patterson. Here. Butch Pond. Here. Bill Ussery. Here.
And we'll go ahead and look at the adoption of the agenda. Motion?
Make a motion the agenda be adopted as presented.
It's been moved and properly second. Go ahead.
Was the matter that we considered at ordinance review not put on?
No, ma'am, I just
Okay. Okay, thank you.
It's been moved properly second. The adoption of the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we have the adoption of the agenda. We have a 15-minute. Go ahead, Justice Madison.
Thank you. I was going to, Mr. Judge, I was just going to make my routine motion that we suspend the rules and read all ordinances by title only tonight.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second to read our ordinances and second. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? All right, thank you, Justice Madison. We have citizen comments. We have a period now where we allow and ask our citizens to come and visit with us, share what it is that you would like. And we have that right now. Please come to the mic and share who you are and where you live.
Hello, I'm Velma Schaefer. I live in Springdale. And I'm acutely aware of all the problems, the changes, and everything going on. And so I'm going to read one of my favorite quotes to you first. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. And I started researching that, and I thought, who said that? It was Henry Ford. And Henry Ford made lots of changes. If you don't believe it, just count the Fords on the road. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mrs. Schaefer. Any other public comments? Okay. Justice Harbison.
My name is Ann Harbison, and I've lived in Washington County all 75 years of my life. And I have served in some capacity or the other for over 50 years to the citizens of Southern Washington County. Tonight, I was not here at the last meeting, and a lot of you voiced your concerns then. I'm going to voice my concerns now. Juliette Ritchie started the planning board. Juliette Ritchie was a professional. She gave everything she had to this county. But apparently she made one mistake. A year ago, not this last year, but a year ago, when we had a pretty rough budget, a lot of people question with good questions, but a lot of people tend to stick the knife in and turn it at the end of some of the questions. Juliet voiced her opinion and felt that some justices of the peace were not professional and that they should treat county employees in a more professional way. I am very, very upset about the situation that resulted in the replacement of Juliet Ritchie. She was a professional. She was not a political hack. She served the people of Washington County very well. And I'm upset about it, but there's, if it's true that she was let go because of her First Amendment rights of free speech, I hope she sues. I hope she sues for $2 million. I don't know that that's going to happen, but this was a wrong. It was a wrong that cannot be corrected. I walked into the office down there, and I made just the comment, I'm upset. And they said, what do you think we are, the people that worked with Juliet? We are crushed. Now, my feelings, I didn't work with Juliet every day. I only knew her through the Quorum Court. I hope that nothing ever like this happens again. I don't know that it can be corrected now, but I am very upset about it, and I needed to feel that I needed to voice my opinion in support of Juliet Ritchie. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Harbison. Good evening.
Hi there, my name is Sharon Stethard. I live in District 15, which is Butch Pond's district, and this is my first quorum court. I'm here in support of Joseph Wood, and I know that a majority of Washington County voted him in, and I appreciate all of you who have been supportive in every single aspect of his administration. I do respect and acknowledge your right to hire and fire who you want to for your administration. I honor the fact that you are a very hard worker and that you are overly qualified for this position. I also want to come before you today in support of Sharon Lloyd, who is, there's an exception on here that you're going to be voting for tonight. I understand that according to the law, is if you're voted in. She was not voted in, she was appointed in. But even if she wasn't, she's an amazing administrator. She has an administration degree. And being in the grants department, she's been a teacher before. A majority of what they do is get grants for certain things. So I'm fully supportive of Sharon Lloyd and her position on Judge Wood's administration. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Susan. Any other public comments? Okay, we'll go ahead. We'll go with the agenda. The approval of minutes. They're not in?
We usually receive the minutes by email in advance of the meeting, and I didn't receive any minutes, so I move that we table this item until the next meeting.
All right, and then we move to number 7, resolution recognizing vacancy in the quorum court. Justice Pine, on the tabling? So are you making that a motion to table it? Yes. Okay.
And she seconded.
Who was the second? Second. Justice Harbison has been moved and second. All in favor? Aye. All right, those opposed. All right, minutes have been tabled. Justice Pine?
Yes, sir. Item number 7, a resolution recognizing a vacancy in Quorum Court District 7 for 2017. J.P. Rick Cochran submitted his resignation last month. I move to pass 7.1.
County Attorney.
A resolution recognizing a vacancy in Quorum Court District Number 7 for 2017.
Move to pass 7.1.
It's been moved and properly second for the vacancy of Justice Cochran's JP position. Ms. Jamie, go ahead and take a roll call on this.
Robert Dennis,
No.
Lisa Ecke,
Yes.
Ann Harbison. Yes. Joe Kicklack,
Yes.
Roddy Lloyd,
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom,
Yes.
Eva Madison, Sue Madison, Joel Maxwell,
Yes.
Joe Patterson, Butch Pond,
Yes.
Bill Ussery,
Yes.
Daniel Balls, Harvey Bowman, Rick Cochran,
Okay. Is that everyone? Justice Ussery, item number 8.
Thank you very much, Judge. As I was working on the ordinances, there's a county ordinance that says that a person who is an elected official cannot work for the county for a year. And I understand, I realize that Ms. Lloyd was not officially elected by a popular vote, but she was certainly in an elected official position. And I think that's the only way that the law could look at that. And I think we need to get this straightened out. We just need to, and the whole reason I'm bringing this forward is so we can get this out. I mean, I've had a number of people ask me about this, and we just need to get it out in the open. We need to figure out what's going on. We need to correct whatever needs to be corrected and go on from here. And so that's why we brought forth this resolution. So, Mr. Lester, if you would mind, if you'd read that for us.
An ordinance to allow Sharon Lloyd to be employed by Washington County and thus create an exception to Washington County Code Section 2-192, subsection 3, subparagraph A.
Comments, Justice Madison, and then we'll go to Justice Lundstrom.
Thank you, Judge. I actually think there's an error. It should be 2-192C, subsection 3A. There's a C missing there. So I've struggled with this issue because I enjoyed working with then JP Lloyd on the Quorum Court, and I wish her the best success in her new role. But when I realized that we were being asked to vote on this retroactively, it gave me a lot of heartburn because it's really clear in our code what should be followed. And I don't think this court has the power to undo a past wrong if it's that way. If someone commits a crime, the legislature can't go into session and go backwards and say you didn't commit a crime. It was done. I'm not saying this is a crime, but it's just an example of how absurd that would seem if they tried to go back and undo something. I don't even know if we have the power to retroactively right a situation. The way that I believe it should have been handled was to come to the court and say, this is what we want to do, this is what we hope to do, ask for permission rather than forgiveness, and to allow us to consider whether we wanted to make an exception prospectively. But at this point, we're dealt with a situation where somebody's been in a job for several weeks, and we're being asked to retroactively fix something that was perhaps wrong with that. And so I can't support this, but out of respect for Ms. Lloyd, I'm going to abstain because I don't really want to vote against it. I just don't think this is a proper ordinance for us to be considering. I've heard from a lot of people very concerned about the hiring practices that have been in effect in our new administration. And as much as I want everyone to succeed and as much as I realize our new judge has the authority to make the changes that he needs to make, we have rules we need to follow. And this is one of those. And I think it's very questionable for this court to get involved with trying to retroactively right a wrong. And I think it makes our actions suspect. And I think we need to be very careful about that. are we going to go forward and legislate where we routinely just make exceptions for certain individuals to our rules? I don't know that any of us think that's a good idea. I mean, what's the next thing that might come up? We're going to be asked to make an exception for something else. I know that all of us have great respect for Miss Lloyd, but and that's why I'm conflicted, because my respect for her conflicts with what I think about the principle involved. So I just can't support this, and I urge my colleagues to think very carefully about whether we really want to get into retroactively trying to undo something. Thank you.
Justice Lynch.
Well, I believe that words have meaning. There's a big difference between the word elected and appointed. An elected official can run again the very next session. An appointed person cannot run again. They're prohibited by law from doing that. So I see a huge difference there. She could not run for Quorum Court again and maintain that seat. So what is she supposed to do? The judge needs somebody to run the grants department. She's highly qualified for it. I doubt if anybody would argue with that. She's well educated. She's very articulate, pays attention to detail. So I think she'd be perfect for the job. But I would like to hear our county attorney's legal opinion on this, how we deal with that word elected versus appointed. Thank you, Judge.
Councilman.
Excuse me. By definition in the statute, elected official is defined to include people that are also appointed. I don't think the big issue is that. Honestly, if you want my opinion, the question is, if we want to back up a step even further, does this court have the power to limit the hiring practices of the county judge? And Amendment 5 to the Arkansas Constitution, Section 3, makes it clear that those powers lie solely with the county judge. And I've had several people ask, and I've told them my opinion on that is, when you write an ordinance, I believe that the Quorum Court has the ability and the right to dictate policy, and as it deals with our handbook and how we handle things. When you write an ordinance that says, these are the rules, except if you ask us permission first, then you are creating the ability to make a decision on the hiring or firing of someone, and I don't know that constitutionally this would stand up in court where there's an exception that says we as the Quorum Court then have that ultimate final say. And so I'm not saying that that's what would happen, but to me that's the bigger issue is based on the Constitution, are you giving yourself that power to hire or make those decisions? And is that legal?
I don't actually think the motion is proper because this is still on first reading. So I don't think that it can be passed. So I think J.P. Essery's motion is actually out of order. I realized that as I was sitting here thinking about it.
Justice Madison said that she would pass on all first readings.
It's just the reading.
Oh, just the reading? Okay.
No, that was just to read it by title only. An ordinance, which is
Yeah,
this,
this one.
because it makes an amendment to an ordinance, has to go through 3 readings. And so I think J.P. Essery's motion is out of order. So we just need a ruling from the chair on. There's not a motion? Then we shouldn't be discussing, so.
Justice Pine.
We could, if we got it to the 3rd reading where we could be properly discussing this, we could sit here and argue both sides of this all night. Whether a mistake was made, a violation of a county ordinance was made, whether it was or not. But I do see Mr. Essery's attempt to clarify this, or if in fact a mistake was made, an attempt to correct it so we can move on. I really do not believe this is an issue that we should spend a half of the year in some kind of debate. And I would, I'd move to suspend the rules and put it on second reading.
Been moved, properly second. All in favor? Roll call. Ms. Jamie?
Robert Dennis,
Yes.
Lisa Ecke,
No.
Ann Harbison, Joe Kiklak,
Present.
Roddy Lloyd, Tom Lundstrom, Eva Madison, Sue Madison, Joel Maxwell,
No.
Joe Patterson, Butch Pond,
Yes.
Bill Ussery,
Yes.
Daniel Balls, Harvey Bowman, Rick Cochran,
He's vacant now.
okay,
Seven yeas, 4, 5 noes, and 2 present.
So it takes it up at the next meeting. All right, Ms. Justice Madison, move to number 9.
Yes, if, Mr. Lester, could you read 9.1 by title only?
An ordinance recognizing additional revenue of $6,195 in the general fund and appropriating $16,995 from the general fund to the assessor's budget for 2017.
Thank you. We considered this at our first Budget and Finance Committee meeting, and this was a vehicle that was owned by the county that was involved in an accident. So we're recognizing the insurance proceeds that were paid by the Risk Management Fund and then appropriating new money to be able to purchase a replacement vehicle. So I would move to pass 9.1.
Been moved and properly second. Ms. Jamie, roll call.
Robert Dennis,
Yes.
Lisa Ecke,
Yes.
Ann Harbison, Joe Kiklak, Roddy Lloyd, Tom Lundstrom, Eva Madison, Sue Madison, Joel Maxwell, Joe Patterson, Butch Pond, Bill Ussery, Daniel Balls, Harvey Bowman,
All right, Justice Madison.
Mr. Lester, would you read 9.2 by title only?
An ordinance transferring $1,334 from the collector's automation budget to the collector's budget and transferring $2,119 from the position 0104081 to position 0104090 of the collector's budget for 2017.
Thank you. We also considered this at our Finance and Budget meeting. This was an employment change in the collector's office that was going to result in a reduction in pay, and so the collector found a little bit of money in her budget to be able to offset the revenue change, but this was basically appropriating money to a personnel line item so that an employee would not be adversely affected by a job change. So I would move to pass 9.2.
Ms. Jamie.
Robert Dennis,
Yes.
Lisa Ecke,
Yes.
Ann Harbison, Joe Kiklak, Roddy Lloyd, Tom Lundstrom, Eva Madison, Sue Madison, Joel Maxwell, Joe Patterson, Butch Pond, Bill Ussery, Daniel Balls, Harvey Bowman,
Justice Madison.
Mr. Lester, 9.3 by title only.
An ordinance anticipating revenues totaling $9,000 in state grants and appropriating $9,000 from the Juvenile Court Grant Fund to the DHS JDAI budget for 2017.
This was also considered at our Finance and Budget Committee meeting. We're just recognizing grant funds received. So I would move to pass 9.3.
Second.
that Justice Harbison?
Would our attorney please bring us up to date on, these are appropriation ordinances, and they have to do with the budget, so they're just read once, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. What's the reasoning behind that?
The reasoning behind reading them,
Well, Joe here asked me, this is an ordinance, and I said, yes. Well, why aren't we reading it 3 times? I said, because it's a budget item, and it's not read 3 times, and anyway.
no one's made a motion to read it 3 times.
No, appropriation ordinances
they
don't have to be read 3 times, but they do require a supermajority. So
Okay.
Yeah.
if we pass them with
okay.
10 votes on the first reading, that's it. Now, if it wouldn't pass on the first reading with 10, it could go through 3 readings to get a simple majority. But appropriation ordinances are treated differently. But I will add, I think we're supposed to have public comment before we vote on any ordinances, so we might want to allow for that.
Public comments on ordinance 9, ordinance number 20, what number do we have? 9.2 and 3. 9.1, 9.2, and 9.3. Okay.
I think we're ready to vote on 9.3.
Jamie on the roll call.
Robert Dennis,
Yes.
Lisa Ecke,
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Joe Kiklak.
Yes.
Roddy Lloyd,
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom,
Yes.
Eva Madison,
Yes.
Sue Madison,
Yes.
Joel Maxwell,
Yes.
Joe Patterson, Butch Pond, Bill Ussery, Daniel Balls, Harvey Bowman,
9.4, Mr. Lester.
An ordinance anticipating additional revenues of $371,228 in the high-intensity drug trafficking area grant fund and appropriating $371,228 from the HIDA, the HIDTA grant fund to the HIDA 2017 grant G17GC00048 budget for 2017.
This was also considered at our Budget and Finance Committee meeting, and so we're recognizing grant revenue and then appropriating it back to the proper line item. So I'd move to pass 9.4.
Second.
Ms. Jamie, roll call. Well, we want to go ahead and public comments. Okay, Ms. Jamie?
Robert Dennis,
Yes.
Lisa Ecke,
Yes.
Ann Harbison,
Yes.
Joe Kiklak,
Yes.
Roddy Lloyd,
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom, Eva Madison, Sue Madison, Joel Maxwell, Joe Patterson, Butch Pond, Bill Ussery, Daniel Balls, Harvey Bowman,
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Justice Madison.
That concludes my report, Judge.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Judge's report, I had a couple of things I just wanted to share in our second meeting. One, Justice Dennis, good to see you. And you look good. I'm glad to have you here. Also, we'd like to, and he's been ill, and we're glad he's back. And also want you guys to think of Director Ledgerwood. Her dad just passed away, and she runs our animal shelter. And so, again, just keep her in your thoughts and prayers. We had our judges conference last week and got a chance to go out there and visit with judges across the state. A couple of things that we really hit on was some of the issues going around the counties across the state, and in particular the tire issues that the legislatures are taking up. We also had some comments in regard to the U of A and appropriating dollars possibly in legislation for the about $3 million to help out in their co-op extensions, which we would hope help out in our 4-H and our research, et cetera. So it was a good meeting to kind of talk with other judges across the state and some of the issues that they're facing, and the issues that we're facing in Washington County clearly we're not by ourselves. So anyway, we wanted to share that. We're still working on our veterans facility. I think that has been, we brought that up. We will have some time in the future where we will end up having a grand opening ribbon cutting, if you will. But we are right now getting our players in place so we can have them over there and so they can start serving our veterans. Earlier this week, we pulled our elected officials together to have breakfast with them and just really start to really do and talk about the things of the county where we could just kind of share and start working through how we can, again, serve our county better. Our team in the judge's office got together earlier this month and really talked about what is our mission for the county and what is our vision for the county, and I wanted to share that with the elected officials so they were on the same page and at least knowing where the judge and the judge's office was coming from. Our mission is simply to provide a better public service to all our citizens and employees in Washington County, and our vision is to create an exemplary county for the state of Arkansas, that they're looking at Washington County when it comes to leadership and when it comes to service. So that is what our judge's office has been really working on, working toward. They got together, the directors and the leaders, all 14, 15 of them, and came up with, here's the values that we're going to look at, and really proud of where they were. It's on stewardship, transparency, intentional, and being intentional in what we do, being citizen-centric, and I thought that was really powerful, citizen-centric, being about knowledge and being about safety and the focus on safety. So really proud of that. Worked with the Arkansas State Highway Transportation Division. They came in and visited with us and really talked about some of the state aid programs as we start preparing our roads for this spring and getting ourselves ready for the maintenance and upkeep, as well as new construction, as well as some of our bridge work that we're working on. So really proud of that. Our a couple of audits have gone through. We just completed our federal audit with the grants, and the team did phenomenally well. We'll have a report in a few weeks from them, as well as our IT group has gone through some assessment and audit work, as well as looking at cybersecurity, et cetera. So got a lot of things going with our roads and our grants and IT. Just really proud of what our team has been doing, reviewing all our ordinances, looking at our contracts. The attorney has been very busy looking at some of our contracts as they come up for renewal. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of share some of those tidbits coming out of the judge's office. Justice Dennis, yes.
I know we don't need a motion on this, but great report.
Thank you
very well
much.
done.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you. Justice Madison and Susan. Justice Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. I went and looked at the building on North Street that's going to be used for a veterans office, and I expressed my concern to Mr. Lester, I believe, which probably wasn't the right place, but did somebody make sure the HVAC systems over there worked? Because a building that had been vacant for 9 years, if I owned it, I promise you the HVAC wouldn't work. But did it work okay?
It did. I immediately called our building and grounds, Dwight Gonzalez, head of building and grounds, and that was one of the first things they checked. And I believe he said they were relatively new, but that they had something I believe is what Dwight would be the better person to, if you want to talk to him.
No, that's okay. I just want to find out who's servicing them and get their name and number. Thank you.
Justice Madison.
I know we heard at our committee meeting on Monday that Ms. Sandage might be leaving us. So
I failed to say that. You're exactly right.
Ill today.
And that's why your notes didn't go out. I'm surprised it didn't go out because she's normally on top of that. But Ms. Carly, who's been serving as our county clerk, is school. She's graduating in a few months, and it's just overwhelming her to juggle all that. And so we appreciate her and her work, and she'll have another week or so before she's and I think she's going to end up transferring to another department. So she's not leaving us per se.
Oh, okay.
So we will go and follow up, make sure you get your minutes.
Yeah, and in the meantime, make sure we know, I guess, who to contact.
Right here, Miss Julie and Miss Jamie.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. Would y'all send us your emails so
Yes,
we have them
please.
all?
Please.
Thank you very much.
Justice Lundstrom.
I think it'd be nice next month to have a resolution to express our appreciation to Carly, too. She wasn't here very long, but I sure appreciated her, and she did a great job for the length of time she was in service. So, and she brought me a big candy bar every meeting night. So we need to appreciate her. Thank you.
She's been great. Excellent. Justice Bowman.
You know, I mentioned one before, Miss Beebe, that was here with us for such a long time. I'm sorry, not Miss Beebe. Beeks, yes, Karen Beeks. I'm sorry, Karen Beeks. She was here with the county for how many years? 30-plus years. And she's gone, and I would sure like to have a resolution or something to recognize. Oh, it's on here?
It's
Oh,
on,
great,
well.
fantastic. I hadn't read ahead. Thank you. I'm getting ahead.
Pretty excited there.
Sorry.
Excellent. Any other comments before we move on to the next agenda? I also would say, and I want to have Justice Lundstrom gave us a call and said, hey, can I go and visit with you guys? And we spent about 3 hours together hitting some roads, bridges, and buildings, and grab some lunch. And I want to make sure I share that. I want you guys to do that. So give us a call. We'll book the time and get you out there so you can see your roads, bridges, and buildings that you guys are setting budgets for. And I know he's been doing this for a while, but I think he also saw it and had a different appreciation. I don't know, Justice Lundstrom, if you had any comments about your visit with us you want to share?
Well, it was a good visit. I've been advocating that we get a bus and just take everybody, rather than take 15 days of your time to go out there and show everybody the roads. But we did that back when Jerry Hunton was here. We went and looked at all the buildings on one trip, and we went and looked at all the roads on another. Some of the buildings we actually went in and toured, like the county health department and so forth. So that kind of thing is very informative, gives you an idea of what you're spending your money on, et cetera. But yes, I appreciated the trip very much. It was very informative. Got to see a lot of roads, got to see the dirt pit. So I got an education that day. Thank you, Judge.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and, any other comments? Justice Bowman.
Thank you. I have asked Mr. Gales to come to our Public Works meeting for our next session, and we took a road trip together as well and looked at some roads and talked about some of the issues. And I'll tell you, I am tremendously impressed with the ideas he's got to rectify things, and I'm looking forward to a really complete report from him at that time. So stand by. You got great news on the way.
Yep. Thank you, Justice Bowman. Justice Maxwell.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Lester, if you'd read 11.1 by title only. A resolution confirming the policy statement of the sheriff regarding the temporary filling of the office of sheriff pursuant to Act 229 of 2009, codified as Arkansas Code annotated section 14.14.13.10. Thank you. This is a standard procedure every 2 years where we establish a chain of command should something happen to the sheriff and allow him to appoint someone to take succession. In order of number one, we have Chief Deputy J. Cantrell. Number two would be Major Rick Hoyt in case something happened to Chief Deputy J. And then last would be Major Randall Denzer. So this just provides some safety and some oversight for the county should we have a problem or a vacancy under any terms. So I move to pass 11.1.
It's been moved and properly second. Ms. Jamie. Oh, public, we do a public comment? Okay, Ms. Jamie.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke.
Yes.
Ann Harbison.
Yes.
Joe Kicklack.
Yes.
Roddy Lloyd.
Yes.
Tom Lundstrom.
Yes.
Eva Madison.
Yes.
Sue Madison. Joel Maxwell.
Yes.
Joe Patterson. Butch Pond.
Yes.
Are you asleep, Butch?
Bill Ussery. Daniel Balls.
Yes.
Harvey Bowman.
Thank you, Jamie. Justice Bowman, item 12.
Thank you. A resolution to express appreciation of the Quorum Court to Karen Beeks for service as the Executive Assistant to the Washington County Judge. I'd move that we pass number 12.
Second.
Judge Poster, okay. Should our attorney reread that?
Justice Madison.
Oh,
I just want to say, I think she actually was the Quorum Court reporter for most of those years, and it was only recently that she became the executive assistant to the judge. So for the overwhelming majority of those years, she served this body, which I can't even imagine what that would have been like for as many years as she did it. So she probably deserves more than a resolution, but I think that's all we have the power to do. I would also ask, do we have one that we're going to sign? Is it okay? It's coming around. Thank you. That's want to make sure. Thanks.
You want to read the council? Okay, go ahead, Justice Ecke.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. When I joined this court, I heard from former JPs saying Ms. Karen Beeks is Washington County's encyclopedia. She is the dictionary. She knows the Constitution. You have any questions, she knows how to answer it. If you can't find something, she knows how to find it. And she even does laundry. But that is how valuable her experience, her knowledge, her service to this county and to the employees was, that her reputation of efficiency, thoroughness, and wisdom just went outside of this courtroom. And to that, I just want to say also that I appreciated her, and there was never a stupid question to ask. So she made it rather easy the first couple of years. So I want to say thank you. Thank you, Mr. Judge.
Thank you, Justice Ecke. Appreciate it. Any other comments? Justice Madison.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. I'd just like to say that I actually served in 2 different times as a JP with the help of Miss Karen Beeks. She was working for Charles Johnson, I think. And I believe she started out of high school working in the office. And she really was a very valuable assistant to all of us as well as the judges. So to thank you to Karen.
Any other comments? All right.
Second.
Moved and second. Ms. Jamie.
Robert Dennis.
Yes.
Lisa Ecke. Yes. Ann Harbison. Joe Kiklak. Yes. Roddy Lloyd. Yes. Tom Lundstrom. Yes. Eva Madison. Yes. Sue Madison. Yes. Joel Maxwell. Yes. Joe Patterson. Yes. Butch Pond. Yes. Bill Ussery. Yes. Daniel Balls. Yes. Harvey Bowman.
Yes.
Thank you, Justice Bowman. Other business. Justice Madison.
Members, on Monday at the Ordinance Review Committee meeting, which is apparently not a hot topic. People don't come to all the Ordinance Review Committee meetings, but we discussed the structure of our committee meetings. And for those of you there, you'll be hearing me again, but we discussed how by adding back in the Finance and Budget Committee, we have added another meeting and thus another expense of $3,000 per month for the Quorum Court. When we had done away with Finance and Budget previously, that's when we added in the Ordinance Review, so it kind of offset one another. But now with both of them, we're ending up with 4 regular monthly committee meeting dates plus the Quorum Court. So we're going to always have at least 5 meetings per month, assuming something's not canceled. And I know JP Ussery, who's the vice chair of the Finance and Budget Committee, has a conflict with the day we've picked. Staff has asked that it stay sort of within that same range of when it is because of the need to get things ready for Quorum Court and to deal with month-end closing finances. And one idea I had that I think is proper for the full court to discuss and can't really be discussed by committee is whether we want to talk about having some of our committees meet only every other month. And the idea is that we all know that a lot of our committee meetings, well, some committee meetings are canceled relatively often because of a lack of an agenda. And I'm sort of saying let's make that formal rather than just waiting to see if in July, when nobody really wants to meet and not a lot is going on, that we just happen to cancel the meetings. If we want to go ahead and just say we do that often enough that it's okay that some of the committees just meet every other month. That way then we could restructure it so we would go back down to 4 or maybe fewer, depending on how we did it, meetings in a month so that we'd save the expense But then I just think that would work better. So I put that out there for discussion. Certainly, as the county services chair in the past, I think county services would be a committee that would be fine to meet every other month. Because in fact, some of the reports that we're receiving are not coming monthly. We've set them up on an every other month or a quarterly basis. So I think that we could do the work of the committee every other month and have that be effective. I don't want to diminish the role of any other committee chairs, but I tend to think jail and law enforcement, sometimes public works get canceled. Personnel tends to be a little bit more demand oriented because I think it's stuff is coming to us from the elected officials in the departments that I'm not sure personnel could really be one that we should do that to. But I think that we need to make this process more efficient and less expensive in a time when the budget process is not going to be easy. So I would encourage us to look at a way to try to accomplish that. That's all I'll say. I don't have a motion because I don't have a perfect plan, but if somebody else does, or if we want to just maybe pick this up at a later time. But I don't know if, I think maybe one idea would be to just pair the two meetings that are opposite with, personnel, and then have that be one day. I did not like the idea of stacking 3 meetings because our brains get fried after 3 meetings. It's just too much. So I'll offer that out.
Justice Aiken.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. If I may direct the question to Ms. Justice Eva Madison, could not the committee chairmen make that decision? I mean, since you're Budget and Finance chairman now, we need to elect a new county services chairman. And could not they just set the agenda saying, we will meet, our next meeting will be in a month, not this month, but next month? Could they be the ones to do that? Or do we as a court have to determine?
I think that the committees themselves have to set their regular meetings, but I think it was important for the full court to have input on the overall structure.
Okay.
That's why I felt
Okay.
like it. I think we could. And
Okay.
if, as the current county services chair, I think I could ask the committee to say we just meet every other month. But I think all the committees will need to coordinate to figure out which committees are going to do that and then how we're going to slot it all out. So if you want me to try, I'll talk to Mr. Lester and the judge and try to come up with a structure. But I would appreciate hearing from the other committee chairs with some opinion on whether they think their committees need to meet monthly or could go every other month. With that information, then I think we could maybe come up with a plan and present it.
I think that would be a better plan to follow. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Judge.
Thank you, Judge.
Justice Bowman.
Thank you, Judge. As far as Public Works is concerned, I think unless we have an urgent issue, that we could do every other month without any difficulty at all. And so I'd be open to look at that, but I want us to reserve the possibility, if we have a heavy issue or big issue come up, that we can call for a monthly meeting if needed. So we'll be sure that option was left open.
Sure.
Thank you.
Justice Lundstrom.
Well, the one thing we're not discussing with this that I think is really important is I was always paired with personnel when I was chair of law enforcement. Cancel law enforcement, but he would still have personnel. So it's the same cost, same difference. The committees that have, less issues to deal with should be paired. In other words, law enforcement and public works. So we need to look at repairing the committees where there's less likelihood of one committee meeting the other not. It still costs the county $3,000. So I think that's an important issue to look at in this matter. Thank you, Judge.
Justice Lloyd.
Thank you, Judge. Justice Bowman kind of brought up what I was thinking of. Being new, I'm kind of unfamiliar with exactly how this goes down. But say if a committee chose to only meet every other month and something heavy came down, would the committee chair have the ability to call a special meeting? Okay.
Justice Patterson.
Thank you, Judge. When I came on the court, well, all of them had their own meeting on a certain night. and then we doubled the meetings a few years later. Then we got this deal where we didn't have any time to think about the finances by not having a county committee as a whole, which to me, if we're not gonna do the finances, why we even come? And, but that worked out pretty good because I think we could cut a few meetings anyway, because just looking back over the years, a lot of times there'll be at least 2 of those we don't meet. And you know, like buildings and grounds, I don't think that's earth shattering, because every citizen in the county is here, because we're not gonna do anything that night anyway. So it could be moved to the other week, as a thought. Not saying we need to do it, but county services and public works, those need to be, and, you know, the employees, personnel, those are pretty important, I think. But I'm sure we can work it out to where we can save some meetings. Thank you.
Justice Usry and then Justice Pine.
Thank you. As Chair of the Ordinance Review Committee, one of the things we talked about was meeting every other month, and a lot of work going into the front end, emailing it out to everybody, let them look at it, get it back to Mr. Lester, and then when we come, then we would be prepared, and we could be a lot more efficient that way. So I think every other month on that particular committee, I think that would work fine. Thank you.
Justice Pine.
I just bring up one thing, personnel, which I'm not the chair now. What you're going to wind up, what they generally have done, as long as I've been on the court, is JSAP meets that afternoon before personnel that evening. And so, and that makes some way or other more convenient for the personnel committee chairperson. And JSAP, the JSAP is made up of the committee chairperson of personnel generally, and other elected officials in the county, one representative from your office. So just, you know, bear that in mind as you decide to juggle things around and we play musical chairs with the committees. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Pine. Justice Madison, was that some good feedback? And again, definitely we can set some time and have you come and visit with us.
Yeah, I think that gives me enough, and I'll play with the dates. And okay. I think personnel still needs to meet monthly, so because of the urgency. And then, but I realize too, to address J.P. Lloyd's concerns and J.P. Bowman's, certainly we can call an emergency committee meeting if we need to, but we can also advance something past committee if necessary and put it on a quorum court agenda. Right. So if there were some, just like with planning issues that typically would come through county services, if they're in a rush, we're going to go ahead and put them on the full court agenda to get them done. So it's not that we can't act if we need to. So.
Okay. Other business. Justice Balls.
Thank you, Judge. I appreciate it. I know we tabled tonight the Section 2, 192.3. I would like everybody to go back and read Section B of that before our next meeting also. And then I had a question on the Veterans Affairs. Are we going to need to give any money? Are you going to come back? Are they going to come back and ask us for any money to redo that?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Other business. I also want to thank Justice Ecke, who had a brainstorming of an idea earlier this week to get the justices to bring food in, and it will smell good. I think it's some left, so if you didn't get a chance to grab some, please go downstairs and downstairs and have some. Next month, the 4-H team is asking they come in and bring snacks for you guys, healthy foods and healthy snacks for the justices, and I said I would just share that and let you guys decide, and if so, we'll invite them to come in and do that. What'd you say? Nothing?
Is baked potato.
There you go. Justice Harbison.
We used to have a meal before the quorum court back several years ago, and I think it's a good thing to do. When you break bread with somebody, it means something, and I think that would bring the court together more and not be so divisive. So I'd be willing to supplement next month.
So if they bring in the healthy stuff, you're gonna bring the
Yeah, I'll bring the
good stuff.
mashed potatoes.
There you go. Justice Ecke.
Thank you, Mr. Judge. I had one comment. I've been the old hide on the line, is what I was called, and then I've also been the freshman in the room. And I want to say to all those that did come in that are new and filling big shoes and high heels and whatnot, welcome, and we hope that we establish a great relationship like Ms. Karen Beeks and Carly Sandridge did before you, and that our singing their praise in no way diminishes your welcome, your place, and the value that you have and you bring to your position. But we'd like to get to know you and reach out and talk to us as much as you can as well. So for all those that are new, welcome. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Justice Ecke. Justice Bowman.
Thank you, Judge. Maybe I ought to make this as a citizen's comment, but I think since I'm up here, I'll just stay. You know, one thing that we've had a lot of back and forth about employment and so forth, I just wish everybody would go back and read the handbook about the at-will employee status and read the handbook about what it says when we have a new judge come on board. Just like a football coach or a baseball coach or anybody, a new governor, all these people have the right to bring the team with them that they want to make a winning team. And I think we need to honor that issue and recognize that regardless of the people and their previous commitments and their talents and their contributions to the court is not ignored. If we had the best quarterback in the whole wide world and the judge wants a new one, then I think the judge has the authority and it's appropriate to give him that choice. And I hope everybody will settle down and go back and read that handbook and think through this process. He's the new judge. He's the new coach. And I think we need to honor his choices and get on with business. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, Justice Bowman. Any other business before we, Justice Patterson?
Thank you, Judge. Well, I'm kind of amazed when we have 570 employees or somewhere around that number, and there was about four of them, four or five changed. That's a pretty small percentage. You could actually be just doing a lot of, I think a lot of companies you go into, you see way more change than that. And they're all together, our employees as much as anybody else's, other just in different locations, but there's groups of them. I think it's amazing that we actually could do it. I kind of watch what in the paper, what goes on to the county north of us, and I think they had quite a few more than that. But anyway, which I was surprised also, I'll say that one of our JPs resigned, but you know, that's a personal thing. We're here to deal with about $65 million worth of money. That's what we need to be worried about. The rest of the stuff is above our pay grade. Thank you.
Justice Patterson, appreciate it. Citizen-centric, we said, was one of our focus points, and so obviously we want to make sure that we give our citizens the opportunity to visit with us if they have any comments. Oh, well, any other business before we move in?
I move to
All right.
adjourn.
All right, it's been moved and adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.